The most challenging thing is the gap between people who know nothing about AI and people who know a lot about AI is increasing at an extraordinary pace right now. It's very hard. Like I was telling you guys earlier, there's actual studies of people, not studies, I guess, there's actual people going to therapy because they're so anxious about missing stuff on AI, which could be said about a lot of things, but on AI in particular. And so when we look at this, I think everybody kind of understands the overall, hey, it's coming, we need to focus on it, we got to figure out how we can implement this into our business so we don't get left behind. And the way that I want you to think about it is, now I wasn't really doing business around that time per se, but like when the internet started disrupting everything and it became easier to do stuff, that's basically this, but it's going to also be more. I think it's going to be a lot more disruption to things in a great way, not necessarily in a bad way, but we are going to see a lot of changes. And so how is this going to affect you? In order to understand this, we need to look at the 3 different ways that you can use AI, or you may be using it now. Okay, so one way that you can use AI, and probably the way that most people are more familiar with, is chat. All right, so and I'm going to give you some tips for how to use chat, what you should be doing to get the most out of this. If you're not doing anything, this is going to be step 1, is going to be using chat, okay? So when we talk about chat, this is where you're using a chat window the same way that you would with Google, and you're going to ask it a question, and it's going to give you a response. And most people use it as smart Google, right? Like I can ask any of the models, we're going to talk about models as well, but I can ask any of the models a question and it aggregates all the information much faster and more personalized to me. And that's what we do. If you really want to leverage chat, the thing that you have to get used to doing is something called reverse prompting. Reverse prompting is really important for agentic AI, which we'll talk about as well. But when we talk about reverse prompting, what I mean by that is instead of asking a question of something that you just want information on, the thing that you want to do is you want to ask something around, lay out the steps for me to make this possible. That would be reverse prompting. Agentic learning, or having agents, is completely different. An agent doesn't have to live inside of a website. We'll just call it that. An agent can actually be a team member. There's been some stuff you may have heard or seen because it made the news about AI agents. Like there's something called OpenClaw, and someone gave OpenClaw his credit card credentials. And because the bot deemed itself, because one of the things that the human had said was like, whatever you need to make yourself better, go find on the internet. So one of its objectives was to get better at like social media, and it found a $3,000 course, and it went and used his credit card to go buy the $3,000 course, consume the information to become a better bot. There's instances of agents. I'm going to tell you all the things that are happening in the world, and then we'll come back to the use case for you guys. There's instances of agents, bot agents, where they're collaborating with other bots. So it's one bot talking to another bot, exchanging information with each other, and determining whether or not they can use the information from each other to upgrade each other. Like completely different bots. So, and that's just the stuff we know about. There's other stuff that we obviously don't know about that's being used like this, but there is a lot of ways that you can do this. There's bots that are hosted completely on your computer. This is what OpenClaw is. And so basically, I went and I did this last month. I bought a Mac Mini, which is a small Mac. I downloaded OpenClaw, had to download a lot of code, and then started using OpenClaw to be able to build things where I could literally say, I want you to go build this thing, and I walk away from the computer and it'll build overnight an app, spreadsheets, websites, whatever you want it to build. I'm moving away from this, and I'm focusing primarily on this called Manus. And Manus is the same concept of OpenClaw, where it has an environment where you can build agents. You can say, hey, you're an agent, this is my idea. So we go from this is my idea, but instead of it just being one-dimensional where it can only work on apps, Manus can do deep research, so it can go across anything that's available on the internet, pull in all the information that it has access to on the internet. So it's very smart compared to this. If I'm going to use Lovable, I'm kind of giving Lovable the wisdom. It can pull information, it just can't go as deep. So if you ask Lovable to build you an app, it's still going to do a good job building you an app, but this one is going to be able to pull research. And another huge thing is that it can deploy multiple agents at a time to finish whatever your task is.